Han Bin Lee was having a normal day at Seoul Orbital Repair Station when everything changed. He sat in his worn office chair, drinking his third cup of coffee while looking at repair schedules on his holographic screen. The gentle hum of the station's air recyclers filled the background, a sound he had gotten used to over his 15 years of fixing spaceships. Han Bin, you need to see this, Du Young called from the next room. There was something different in his friend's voice, a mix of worry and excitement that made Han Bin put down his coffee cup. Walking into the monitor room, Han Bin found Du Young staring at a large screen showing an unusual signal pattern. The waves pulsed with a steady rhythm that didn't match any known ship signatures. "What is it?" Han Bin asked, leaning closer to the screen. His eyes narrowed as he studied the strange pattern. "That's the thing. We don't know," Du Young said, typing quickly on his keyboard. "It just appeared 20 minutes ago. The signal is coming from the edge of our solar system, way past Pluto's orbit." Han Bin watched as Du Young pulled up more data. The signal wasn't just random noise. It had a clear pattern, almost like it was trying to talk to them. But the strangest part was how it behaved when other repair ships went near it. "Look at this," Du Young said, pointing to another screen. "The Atlantis Repair Corps sent their best team last week. The signal completely ignored them. Same with the Martian fleet's repair crews. But when our human signals get close..." He pressed a button, and the pattern changed, becoming stronger and more focused. "It's choosing us?" Han Bin asked, his coffee now completely forgotten. "Not just us. It's choosing humans specifically. Every non-human crew that's gone near it gets nothing. But any human signal makes it light up like a Christmas tree." Han Bin sat down at his own station, pulling up the repair station's long-range scanners. Far in the darkness of space, something massive was floating. The scanners couldn't get a clear picture, but whatever it was, it made their largest ships look tiny in comparison. "Boss says to ignore it," Du Young said quietly. "Says anything that big and that old is nothing but trouble." But Han Bin wasn't listening anymore. He was looking at the signal pattern, watching how it pulsed. In all his years of fixing ships, he had never seen anything like it. Yet somehow it felt familiar, like an old machine trying to speak in a language only he could understand. He stood up, his mind made up. "Get my repair shuttle ready." "You can't be serious," Du Young said, standing up too. "That thing is at least 3 weeks of travel away, even with the new engines. And we don't know what it is." Han Bin was already walking to his locker, pulling out his repair suit. "Something that big, that old, calling specifically for human help. Du Young, this is why I became a mechanic. Every machine has a story, and this one." He looked at the screen again, where the massive shape floated in the darkness. "This one has been waiting a very long time to tell its story." "The boss won't approve this," Du Young warned, but he was already helping Han Bin gather his tools. "Then I'll take vacation days," Han Bin said, checking his repair kit. "I have about 6 months saved up anyway." As Han Bin packed his shuttle with supplies, Du Young sent him all the data they had on the signal. It wasn't much, but it was better than going in blind. The last thing Han Bin loaded was Kita, his trusted repair drone. The small machine had helped him fix hundreds of ships over the years. "If I'm not back in 2 months, you can have my coffee maker," Han Bin said, climbing into his shuttle. Du Young shook his head. "Just be careful out there. Space is big, and we're still learning what's in it." As the shuttle's engines warmed up, Han Bin looked one last time at the signal pattern on his screen. In all his years of fixing ships, he had learned one thing. Machines don't call for help unless they really need it. And whatever this thing was, it had crossed galaxies and waited centuries just to ask humans for help. The shuttle lifted off from the repair station, its small frame pointed toward the edge of the solar system. As Earth grew smaller behind him, Han Bin felt a strange mix of excitement and peace. He didn't know what he would find out there in the darkness, but he knew one thing. Whatever it was, it needed a mechanic. and Han Bin Lee was the best mechanic humanity had to offer. Hashtag Part 2. First Co. After 3 weeks of travel through the dark emptiness of space, Han Bin's repair shuttle finally reached its destination. What he saw made him forget to breathe for a moment. The ship was enormous. Not just big, but impossibly huge. Han Bin had worked on cruise ships that could carry 10,000 people, but this vessel made them look like toys. Its dark metal hull stretched out so far that his shuttle's lights couldn't reach the end. "Kita, are you seeing this?" Han Bin asked his repair drone. The small machine beeped and started taking measurements. Numbers flashed across Han Bin's screen, each one more unbelievable than the last. The ship was about 30 kilometers long, nearly the size of Seoul. Its hull was covered in strange patterns that looked like flowing water frozen in metal. But what really caught Han Bin's attention were the scars. Huge gashes and burn marks covered parts of the ship, telling stories of ancient battles. As his shuttle got closer, something changed. Lights began to flicker on across the massive hull, like a sleeping giant slowly waking up. A soft blue glow spread through the strange patterns, making them look alive. "Welcome, Han Bin Lee of Earth," a calm voice said through his shuttle speakers. The voice was neither male nor female, but it was warm and clear. "I am Jin. I have waited 3,427 years for someone like you." Han Bin nearly jumped out of his seat. You can speak Korean." "I can speak all Earth languages," Jin replied. "I have been watching your species for a long time. Please, dock your shuttle in Bay 47. I have prepared it for your arrival." A section of the huge ship's hull slid open smoothly, revealing a well-lit landing bay. Despite how old the ship looked outside, the bay was clean and ready for use. Han Bin carefully guided his shuttle inside, trying not to think about how easily this giant ship could swallow his tiny vessel. When he stepped out of his shuttle wearing his repair suit, Han Bin felt like an ant walking into a palace. The landing bay was bigger than a football field, with high ceilings that disappeared into shadows above. "You can remove your suit," Jin said through speakers in the bay. "I have adjusted the atmosphere to Earth standards." Han Bin checked his tool's readings. The air was perfect, even cleaner than on his repair station. He took off his helmet, and for the first time, breathed the air of an alien ship. "Why did you call for help?" Han Bin asked, looking around the massive bay. "And why humans specifically?" The lights in the bay dimmed slightly, and a hologram appeared in front of Han Bin. It showed a galaxy spinning slowly in the air. "I am what remains of the stellar empire," Jin said. "We were once the greatest civilization in this galaxy, but we fell to an enemy we couldn't defeat, the Void Collective." The hologram changed, showing strange, dark ships that looked like they were made of shifting shadows. "They destroyed our worlds, our people, and nearly all of our ships. I am the last of my kind." "But why wait for humans?" Han Bin asked, while Kita floated nearby, scanning everything. "There are older species out there with better technology." The hologram changed again, this time showing different alien races trying to work on various parts of the ship. Each attempt ended in failure. "The others think too much like machines," Jin explained. "They see a problem and try the same solutions over and over. But humans are different. You look at a broken machine and see possibilities. You try things that shouldn't work, but somehow you make them work anyway." Han Bin smiled, thinking of all the impossible repairs he had managed over the years. "We call that creative problem solving." "I call it exactly what I need," Jin said. The hologram disappeared, and a door opened at the far end of the bay. "Would you like to see what's broken?" Han Bin picked up his tool bag and nodded to Kita. "That's why I'm here. Lead the way." As they walked through the massive corridors, Jin spoke again, this time more quietly. "I should warn you, Han Bin Lee. If you agree to help me, you will be part of something much bigger than a simple repair job. Are you ready for that?" Han Bin patted Kita's metal shell and smiled. Jin, I crossed half the solar system because you asked for help. Whatever you need fixing, we'll fix it together. The lights in the corridor brightened, as if Jin was pleased. Then let me show you why the Stellar Empire was once the most powerful force in the galaxy, and why we need humanity's help to become so again. 3 days into his work on the massive starship, Han Bin began to understand why other species had failed to fix it. He sat on the floor of a huge engine room, surrounded by tools and holographic diagrams, while Kita hovered nearby, scanning a complicated power conduit. This doesn't make any sense, Han Bin said, wiping sweat from his forehead. The power system isn't just broken. It's like it's alive somehow. That's because it is, Jin replied through the room's speakers. Our technology merged with living crystal formations we found in deep space. The crystals grow and change. Han Bin watched as energy pulsed through the transparent pipes above him, looking more like glowing blood vessels than machine parts. Kita beeped and showed him a scan of the crystal structures. They're like plants, Han Bin said suddenly, sitting up straighter. Kita, show me the energy flow pattern again. The drone projected a detailed map of the power system. Han Bin smiled as he saw what he had missed before. Jin, your power system isn't just a bunch of pipes and wires. It's more like a garden that needs tending. Exactly. Jin's voice held excitement, but none of the other species understood this. They tried to force the crystals to work like normal machines. Han Bin stood up and walked to a control panel. Then let's try something different. Kita, get ready to adjust power levels on my mark. He placed his hands on the panel, and it lit up with a soft blue glow. Jin, can you show me how the system looked when it was working properly? A hologram appeared, showing healthy crystal formations spreading through the ship like beautiful glowing vines. Han Bin studied it carefully, then began to work. Instead of forcing the power through the system, he started gentle pulses of energy, like water feeding a thirsty plant. Slowly, the crystals began to respond. Their glow strengthened, and new growth started forming in the right directions. After an hour of careful adjustments, one of the main power conduits flared to life, bathing the room in soft blue light. You did it, Jin said softly. No one else even came close to understanding the system this way. Han Bin grinned at Kita, who spun in circles happily. Sometimes fixing things isn't about forcing them to work. It's about understanding what they need to work properly. As they moved through the ship's various systems, Jin began sharing more stories. The AI told Han Bin about the Stellar Empire's golden age, when they explored the furthest reaches of space. Jin described beautiful worlds and strange alien species they had met. But then Jin's voice would grow quiet when talking about the war. The Void Collective had appeared from another galaxy, bringing weapons that could tear apart reality itself. The Stellar Empire fought back with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. That's why the ship has so many battle scars, Han Bin said, as he worked on another system. Kita was helping him replace some damaged crystal segments they had grown in a special chamber. Yes, Jin replied. But the physical damage isn't the worst part. The Void Collective didn't just want to destroy us. They wanted to erase everything we were, everything we had created. Han Bin stopped working for a moment. Is that why you waited for humans? Because we remind you of your creators. The lights in the room dimmed slightly. In some ways, yes, the Stellar Empire was a lot like humanity. Creative, curious, always trying new things. But you have something they didn't have. What's that? Han Bin asked, carefully connecting a new crystal formation. Hope, Jin said simply. Even when things seem impossible, humans keep trying. You look at a broken machine and see possibilities. My creators were great builders, but in the end, they lost hope. They couldn't imagine a way to defeat the Void Collective. Han Bin stood back as the new crystal section began to glow, its light mixing perfectly with the older parts. Kitaz's scans showed the power flow was stable and growing stronger. "Well," Hanbin said, watching the beautiful patterns of light spread through the system, "maybe that's why you found us. Sometimes the best way to fix something isn't to make it exactly like it was before. Sometimes you need to help it grow into something new." Jin was quiet for a moment, then said, "Hanbin Lee, I think you understand more than you know. There's something else I need to show you. Something that will explain why this ship was worth protecting for over 3,000 years." The door to a new section of the ship opened, revealing a corridor Hanbin hadn't seen before. The walls here were covered in symbols that glowed with a strange, deep light. "Are you ready to see what the Stellar Empire's enemies feared most?" Jin asked. Hanbin looked at Kita, who peeked encouragingly. "Lead the way, Jin. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." The new section of the ship was different from anything Hanbin had seen before. The walls seemed to pulse with deep purple light, and strange machines lined the corridors. Kitaz's sensors were going crazy, picking up energy readings that made no sense. "I need to call someone," Hanbin said after looking at one particularly complex system. "This is beyond what I know. Is it okay if I bring in help?" "Who do you have in mind?" Jin asked. "Eun-ji Kim. She's the best quantum systems specialist I know. If anyone can understand these readings, it's her." After Jin agreed, Hanbin sent a message back to Earth. To his surprise, Eun-ji replied immediately. She had been following the strange signal case and was already preparing for the possibility that Hanbin would need her help. 3 days later, a small shuttle docked with the massive ship. Eun-ji stepped out, her eyes wide as she took in the enormous landing bay. She was shorter than Hanbin and wore thick-rimmed glasses, but her quick movements showed her excitement. "This is incredible," she said, looking at the readings on her tablet. "The energy patterns here break every rule of physics we know." Hanbin led her to the special section, with Kita following close behind. As they walked, Jin explained some of the ship's basic systems to Eun-ji. She asked sharp questions that even made Jin pause sometimes. When they reached the hidden section, Eun-ji stopped dead in her tracks. This isn't possible," she whispered, staring at her readings. "The quantum field here is like nothing I've ever seen." "Welcome to the heart of the Stellar Forge," Jin said. The walls opened up, revealing a massive chamber that seemed to stretch forever. In the center, a column of swirling energy rose from floor to ceiling, shifting through colors that human eyes had never seen before. "The Stellar Forge?" Hanbin asked, watching the beautiful and terrifying display of power. "This ship isn't just a warship," Jin explained. "It's a factory of sorts. But instead of building simple weapons, it builds things that can change reality itself. It takes the power of stars and turns them into tools that can reshape space and time." Eun-ji walked closer to one of the control panels, her hands shaking slightly. "These readings, you're not just using stellar energy. You're somehow folding space to pull power directly from the hearts of stars." "Correct," Jin said. "The Stellar Empire built this ship to be their ultimate weapon against the Void Collective. But we never finished it. The enemy found us too soon, and our creators weren't ready." Hanbin watched as Kita projected a detailed scan of the chamber. "Is this why you waited for humans? Because you needed someone who could think differently enough to make it work?" The lights in the chamber pulsed gently. "Partly," Jin replied. "But more importantly, I needed someone who would understand the responsibility of such power. The Void Collective would use this technology to destroy. Other species would use it to conquer. But humans are different." "How do you know that?" Eun-ji asked, still studying the readings. "Because I've watched your species grow. You make mistakes, yes. But you learn from them. You fight wars, but you also make peace. And most importantly, you understand that great power requires great care." Hanbin walked around the central column, thinking. All those systems we've been fixing, they weren't just random parts of the ship, were they? They were preparation for this. Yes, Jin said. The living crystals, the quantum fields, the strange energy patterns, they're all part of the Forge's core systems. But they needed to be woken up slowly, carefully. If we rushed it, the power could have torn the ship apart. Suddenly, all the lights in the chamber turned red. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Jin, what's happening? Han Bin asked, as Ki-tae rushed to his side. Long-range sensors just picked up something. Jin's voice was urgent now. Ships are appearing at the edge of your solar system. Hundreds of them. The energy signature matches the Void Collective. Eun-jae looked up from her tablet, her face pale. How did they find us? They didn't, Jin said grimly. They found Earth. Your world's technology has grown enough to attract their attention. They're coming to do to Earth what they did to the Stellar Empire. Han Bin looked at the swirling column of power, then at Ki-tae, and finally at Eun-jae. How long do we have? At their current speed, 3 days at most. Han Bin took a deep breath. Then we have 3 days to finish what the Stellar Empire started. Jin, tell us everything we need to know about the Forge. It's time to wake it up completely. The chamber hummed with power as Jin spoke. Are you sure? Once we start, there's no going back. Earth is in danger, Han Bin said firmly. Going back isn't an option anymore. The news of the Void Collective's approach reached Earth within hours. Han Bin watched on a holographic screen as panic spread across his homeworld. Earth's defense fleet, though impressive by human standards, looked tiny compared to the massive dark ships approaching from deep space. In the Stellar Forge's main control room, Han Bin, Eun-jae, and Ki-tae worked non-stop. Their fingers flew over control panels while Jin guided them through the ship's complex systems. Admiral Mirai-song is requesting to speak with us, Jin announced, interrupting their work. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a woman in a crisp military uniform. Admiral Song's face was stern, but her eyes showed worry. Mr. Lee, Ms. Kim, she said, nodding to them. Earth's entire defense depends on what you're doing up there. What can you tell me about our chances? Han Bin looked at Eun-jae, who was still typing rapidly on her console. We're making progress, Admiral. But there's something you need to know about these enemies. The Admiral listened carefully as Han Bin explained about the Void Collective, their terrible weapons, and how they had destroyed the Stellar Empire. Her face grew darker with each word. So Earth's weapons won't even scratch them? She asked. No, Jin joined the conversation. Your most powerful weapons would be like throwing rocks at a mountain. But that's why we're here. Admiral Song's hologram turned to look at the AI's voice. And you're sure this ship can help? The Stellar Forge isn't just a ship. Eun-jae spoke up, finally stopping her work. It's the most powerful weapon ever built, but we need time to wake it up properly. Time is something we don't have, the Admiral said. She waved her hand, and a map of the solar system appeared. Red dots showed the Void Collective's ships getting closer. They'll reach Mars orbit in 2 days. Han Bin watched as Ki-tae projected new data onto the map. Admiral, can your fleet slow them down? We don't need to stop them completely. We just need another day to finish our work here. Admiral Song straightened her uniform. Mr. Lee, Earth's fleet will buy you every second we can. Just make it count. Her hologram disappeared, leaving them alone with their work. Jin, Han Bin called out. Show us the next system we need to fix. The ship's walls opened, revealing another massive room. Inside, huge rings of crystal and metal spun around each other, creating patterns of light that hurt their eyes. This is the Stellar Energy Collector, Jin explained. It needs to be perfectly balanced, or it could tear the ship apart. They worked through the night, their hands growing tired and their eyes burning. Ki-tae brought them coffee and energy bars from their shuttles. Eun-jae's fingers flew over quantum calculations while Han Bin carefully adjusted the crystal formations. Suddenly, a loud alarm broke their concentration. On their screens, they watched as the first battle began near Mars. Earth's ships looked like tiny silver fish next to the massive black shapes of the Void Collective's fleet. "They're fighting so we can work," Yunji said quietly, watching Earth's ships dart between the enemy vessels, drawing their fire. Han Bin nodded, his hands never stopping their work. "Then we better not waste their sacrifice." Hour after hour they worked, even as more alarms showed the battle getting closer to Earth. Admiral Song's fleet fought cleverly, using Mars's gravity to sling asteroids at the enemy ships, laying traps in asteroid fields, and never fighting directly. "Your people fight well," Jin said, watching the battle. "They know they can't win, but they keep trying new strategies. The Void Collective has never taken this long to reach a planet before." Finally, after what felt like days, the crystal rings began to spin in perfect harmony. Light flowed through them like water, building up power that made the whole ship hum. "It's working," Yunji said, checking her readings. "The stellar collector is online." But their celebration was cut short by Admiral Song's hologram appearing again. Her uniform was now dirty, and smoke filled the bridge behind her. "We've done all we can," she said, her voice tired but strong. "The enemy has broken through our last line of defense. They'll reach Earth in 6 hours. She looked directly at Han Bin. "Please tell me you're ready." Han Bin looked at the beautiful, terrible machine they had brought back to life. "Not yet, Admiral, but we will be. Earth's fleet has bought us the time we needed. Now it's our turn to fight." The Stellar Forge's engines came to life for the first time in thousands of years, its massive form turning to face the approaching enemy. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. With only hours left before the Void Collective reached Earth, Han Bin and Yunji faced their biggest challenge yet. The Stellar Forge's main control room buzzed with activity as they prepared to fully wake the ancient ship. "The power crystals are all aligned," Han Bin said, checking the readings while Kita floated between control panels. "But something still isn't right. The energy flow keeps hitting a wall." Yunji looked up from her quantum calculations, pushing her glasses back up her nose. "That's because we're thinking about this wrong," she said suddenly. "Jin, can you show us the original blueprints for the power core?" The air filled with glowing blue lines as Jin displayed the complex plans. "These were the final designs before the Void Collective attacked," Jin explained. Han Bin walked through the hologram, studying the power flows. Then he noticed something strange. "The original design. It's not complete. Look here." He pointed to a section where the line simply stopped. "It's like they ran out of time before finishing it." "Exactly." Yunji jumped up excitedly. "They never finished designing the core because they were attacked. That's why no one could fix it. They were all trying to build something that was never completed." Jin's voice held a note of surprise. "You mean we need to design the rest ourselves?" Han Bin finished. He turned to Kita. "Show me those energy flow patterns again." The drone projected a complex web of light, showing how power moved through the ship. Han Bin and Yunji studied it carefully. The original design tried to force the stellar energy through traditional power systems. Yunji said thoughtfully, "But what if we did something different? What if we used Earth's technology to complete the pattern?" Han Bin snapped his fingers. "The quantum field generators from our shuttles. They're smaller and less powerful, but they're more flexible than the ancient systems." They worked quickly, removing parts from their shuttles and connecting them to the Stellar Forged power core. Kita helped them make the delicate connections while Jin monitored the power levels. "This is either going to work perfectly," Han Bin said as they finished the last connection, "or it's going to blow up the whole ship." Yunji typed final commands into her console. "That's what makes it a human solution," she said with a small smile. "Sometimes you have to take big risks to solve big problems." "All systems are ready," Jin announced. "But there's something else you need to know. To fully control the forged power, we need a direct neural connection with the human mind. The ship's systems are too complex for normal controls. Han Bin looked at Yunji. She shook her head. You're the one who understood the ship first. It has to be you. Walking to the central platform, Han Bin saw a chair rise from the floor. It was covered in the same flowing patterns as the rest of the ship. Once you connect, Jin warned, there's no going back. The neural link is permanent. Han Bin thought about Earth, about Admiral Song's fleet fighting a hopeless battle, about everything that would be lost if they failed. Earth doesn't have time for us to find another way. Let's do it. As he sat in the chair, crystal tendrils grew around him, connecting to his body. For a moment, there was pain, sharp and bright. Then his mind exploded with information. He could feel every part of the massive ship. The power crystals sang to him, their energy flowing like music through his thoughts. He could see the quantum fields Unjai had built, binding everything together in beautiful patterns. Han Bin. Yunji's voice seemed to come from far away. Are you okay? When he opened his eyes, the whole room had changed. He could see the energy flows directly now, no longer needing screens or displays. Through the ship's sensors, he could feel the Void Collective's fleet approaching, their dark ships cutting through space like knives. I can feel everything, he said in wonder. The ship, it's not just machinery. It's alive. The connection is stable, Jin reported. Power levels are rising. The hybrid system is working better than the original design ever could. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. On the main screen, they watched as the first ships of the Void Collective entered Earth orbit. Admiral Song is hailing us, Jin announced. The Admiral's hologram appeared, her bridge now badly damaged. They're starting their attack run on Earth. Please tell me you have good news. Han Bin stood from the chair, crystal energy dancing around him like a glowing web. Through his connection to the ship, he could feel its full power awakening for the first time in thousands of years. Admiral, he said, his voice steady, get your ships behind us. The Stellar Forge is awake, and it's time to show the Void Collective why they should have never threatened Earth. The Stellar Forge moved through space with impossible grace for something so huge. Through his neural link, Han Bin guided the massive ship toward Earth, where the Void Collective's dark fleet was gathering like storm clouds. Enemy ships are launching their first attack, Yunji reported from her station. Kita hovered near her, projecting detailed battle information into the air. Han Bin could feel the enemy weapons through the ship's sensors. The Void Collective fired beams of pure darkness that could tear reality itself. But now, connected to the Forge's systems, he could see exactly how they worked. Jin, he called out, his mind racing with new understanding. The ship's original weapons won't be enough. We need to try something different. What do you have in mind? The AI asked. Instead of answering, Han Bin reached out through the neural link. The massive rings they had repaired began to spin faster, their crystal cores glowing brighter than ever. Energy flowed through the hybrid systems they had built, human and ancient technology working together in ways neither civilization had imagined. Han Bin, Yunji said in wonder, what are you doing? These energy readings are off the charts. The space in front of the Stellar Forge began to bend and twist. Han Bin was using the ship's power in a new way, not just absorbing stellar energy, but reshaping it. The Stellar Empire used this ship to make weapons, Han Bin explained, his voice calm despite the strain. But they never realized its full potential. It's not just a forge for weapons, it's a forge for reality itself. The first wave of Void Collective ships reached them. Their black beams struck the forge's shields, trying to tear them apart. But Han Bin was ready. Through the neural link, he commanded the ship's crystals to sing. Energy poured out from the forge in waves of pure light, not attacking the enemy ships directly, but changing the space around them. Incredible, Jin breathed. You're using the quantum fields to rewrite the laws of physics in local space. Where the Void Collective's weapons had torn holes in reality, Han Bin used the forge to heal them. Where they tried to break space itself, he made it stronger. Their darkest weapons simply faded away, unable to work in the altered space around the forge. Admiral Song's hologram appeared, her eyes wide with amazement. Their weapons, they're not working anymore. How are you doing this? He's changing the rules, Yunji explained excitedly. The Void Collective's weapons work by breaking reality, but Hanbin is using the forge to reinforce reality instead. They can't break what he makes stronger. But the enemy was clever. The dark ships began to change formation, trying to surround the forge. New weapons appeared on their hulls, adapting to the changed space. They're learning, Jin warned. The collective always adapts. It's how they defeated the Stellar Empire. Hanbin felt sweat on his forehead as he worked to maintain the energy fields. Then we'll have to adapt faster. Yunji, I need more power to the quantum generators. Hyunji's fingers flew over her controls while Kita raced between systems, making adjustments. The hybrid technology they had built began to hum louder, pushing more power into the forge's ancient systems. Through the neural link, Hanbin could feel the ship's joy at being used in this new way. The living crystals sang louder, their energy mixing with human innovation to create something the universe had never seen before. More ships incoming, Admiral Song reported. They're pulling forces from all around Earth to attack you. Hanbin smiled. Good. Keep them focused on us. Jin, show me the star map. A map of nearby space appeared in his mind through the neural link. He could feel the energy of every star, burning bright against the darkness. What are you planning? Jin asked, sensing his thoughts through their shared connection to the ship. The Stellar Empire built this ship to forge weapons from starlight. Hanbin said, his mind reaching out to the nearest star. But they never thought to forge the starlight itself. The space around the stellar forge began to glow as Hanbin reached for powers that neither humans nor the Stellar Empire had ever dared to touch. The battle for Earth was about to enter its final phase, and Hanbin was going to show the Void Collective why humanity had been worth waiting for. The space around Earth glowed with strange light as Hanbin reached out to the nearest star through the stellar forge. The neural link let him feel the star's power, its massive energy waiting to be used. Hanbin, your body temperature is rising, Yunji warned, watching their screens with worry. The neural link is putting too much strain on you. Kita beeped in agreement, its sensors showing dangerous readings from Hanbin's vital signs. But Hanbin barely heard them. His mind was filled with light and power as he touched the star's energy. The Void Collective is launching their main attack, Admiral Song's hologram announced. All ships, prepare for impact. Through the ship's sensors, Hanbin watched as thousands of dark ships moved toward them. Their weapons were changing, trying to adapt to his defenses, but he had seen something in the star's light that gave him an idea. Jin, he called out, his voice strained. Do you trust me? You've already done what we thought was impossible, the eye replied. What do you need? Take the safety limits off the stellar collectors. All of them. Yunji jumped up from her station. That's crazy. The collectors weren't designed to handle that much power. You could tear the ship apart. No, Hanbin said quietly, understanding flowing through him from the neural link. The ship wasn't finished, remember. We're not bound by its original design limits anymore. Through their connection, Jin understood what Hanbin was planning. He's right. Our hybrid systems can handle more power than the original design. But Hanbin, this is incredibly dangerous. More dangerous than letting Earth be destroyed. There was a pause, then Jin said, removing safety limits now. The stellar forge's rings began to spin faster than ever before. Hanbin reached out to the star again, but this time he didn't try to take its power. Instead, he used the forge to create something new. Artificial quantum singularities, tiny points where space itself folded inward. What are you doing? Admiral Song asked, watching as strange distortions appeared around her fleet. Making a trap, Hanbin explained through gritted teeth. "Admiral, get your ships behind the forge. This is going to get rough." The Earth fleet retreated just as the Void Collective attacked. Their dark weapons fired, but instead of hitting targets, the beams curved strangely, pulled off course by the quantum singularities. "The singularities are affecting their weapons," Yunji shouted excitedly. "The spatial distortions are too strong for them to compensate." Han Bin didn't reply. He was too busy creating more singularities, placing them in a complex pattern around the enemy fleet. Each one pulled at space slightly differently, creating a web of gravitational forces that the Void Collective couldn't escape. "Their ships are trapped," Jin reported. "The overlapping gravity fields are too complex for them to calculate an escape route." But the Void Collective wasn't finished. Their ships began to change shape, growing new weapons that shot beams of pure entropy, designed to break down the quantum singularities. Han Bin felt blood trickle from his nose as he fought to maintain control. The neural link burned in his mind as he pushed the forge's systems harder than ever before. Through the pain, he remembered something Yunji had said earlier. "Sometimes you have to take big risks to solve big problems." "Kita," he called out to his faithful drone. "Initiate program Sunrise." The small drone beeped in acknowledgement and flew to a special console they had prepared earlier. As it worked, the forge's hybrid systems began to pulse with new energy. "What's program Sunrise?" Admiral Song asked. "Something impossible," Yunji answered, watching in amazement as new patterns formed in space. "He's not just making singularities anymore. He's weaving them together." The quantum singularities began to move, drawing closer together in pairs. Where they met, space itself seemed to fold and twist. The Void Collective's ships fired desperately at the approaching distortions, but it was too late. "Now," Han Bin commanded. "Amazing," Jin whispered. "You didn't just stop them, you've trapped them in ways they can't adapt to. Even if they change their weapons or their ships, they can't escape the twisted space itself." Admiral Song's hologram showed her smiling for the first time since the battle began. "Earth's sensors confirm it. The enemy fleet is completely immobilized. We're launching our attack runs now." As Earth's ships began their assault on the helpless Void Collective vessels, Han Bin finally allowed himself to relax slightly. The neural link's burn faded to a dull ache as he watched humanity's ships finish what he had started. "You did it," Yunji said softly, putting a hand on his shoulder. "You found a way to beat them." "No," he said with a tired smile. "We did it, all of us together." 1 month after the battle, Han Bin stood at a window in the stellar forge, watching Earth shine like a blue jewel below. The neural link had become as natural as breathing to him now, letting him feel every part of the massive ship as if it were his own body. "The last of the Void Collective ships has been contained," Admiral Song reported through a hologram. She looked much more relaxed now, her uniform neat and clean again. "Thanks to your quantum prison design, we've been able to capture their technology for study. Just be careful," Han Bin warned. "Their machines can be dangerous even when they're not active." Keita floated near his shoulder, projecting data about the cleanup operations. Earth's fleet was working with the stellar forge to make sure no trace of the Void Collective remained to threaten their world. Yunji walked into the room, carrying her tablet as usual. "The quantum field networks are stable," she reported. "We've even improved the design. The new safety systems should prevent any accidental spatial tears." Han Bin smiled at his friend. After the battle, Yunji had stayed on board, helping to understand and improve the hybrid technology they had created. Her brilliant mind had found ways to make their hurried battlefield innovations into something stable and safe. "Jin," Han Bin called out, "show us the galaxy map." The air filled with stars as Jin displayed a three-dimensional map of the Milky Way. Tiny dots of light showed where other civilizations lived, most of them still recovering from the Void Collective's attacks over the centuries. "The other species are still afraid," Jin said. "They saw what the Forge can do. Some worry that humans might become like the Void Collective, using this power to conquer others. Then we'll have to show them something different, Hanbin said. Through the neural link, he reached out to the ship's systems, but not to its weapons this time. Instead, he activated the creation forges, the parts of the ship designed to build rather than destroy. What are you doing? Yunji asked, watching as new energy patterns formed in the ship's construction base. The Stellar Empire built this ship to be a weapon, Hanbin explained. But that's not all it can be. The same technology that can twist space can also repair it. The power that can trap enemy ships can also help build new worlds. On his command, the Forge began to produce new devices. But these weren't weapons. They were tools for healing the damage the Void Collective had caused throughout the galaxy. Machines that could repair torn space, restore dead worlds, and help rebuild civilizations. I understand, Jin said warmly. Just as humans helped complete the Forge's unfinished systems, now the Forge can help complete the galaxy's unfinished healing. Admiral Song's hologram watched with interest as the new devices took shape. Earth's councils have been discussing our new role in the galaxy. With the Forge's power and humanity's creativity, we could help a lot of worlds recover from the Void Collective's attacks. That's exactly what I was thinking, Hanbin said. The Stellar Empire waited for humans because they saw something special in us. Not just our ability to solve problems, but our desire to help others. Through the neural link, he could feel the ship's happiness at this new purpose. The living crystals sang with joy as they worked to create tools of healing instead of weapons of war. We're getting messages, Yunji announced, checking her tablet. Other civilizations are requesting help with rebuilding their worlds. They've seen what we did with the Void Collective, but they've also seen what we're doing now. Keita projected a list of the requests. Dozens of worlds needed help, each with their own unique problems to solve. It would take years, maybe decades, to help them all. What do you think, Jin? Hanbin asked. Ready for a new adventure? The Stellar Empire built this ship to save the galaxy through power, Jin replied. But perhaps humanity will save it through kindness instead. I can't think of a better use for the Forge. Hanbin looked at Earth one more time, then at his friends. Yunji with her brilliant mind, Keita with its faithful service, and Jin with its ancient wisdom. Together, they had done the impossible. Now it was time to do something even harder. Help the galaxy heal. Send a message to all the worlds asking for help, he told Yunji. Tell them that Earth and the Stellar Forge are ready to assist, not as conquerors or rulers, but as friends and builders. As the massive ship's engines powered up, preparing for their first journey of peace, Hanbin felt a deep sense of rightness through the neural link. The Void Collective had tried to break the galaxy. Now it was humanity's turn to help fix it. And that, he thought, was the greatest power of all.